Today I'm showing you how I made this Spyro mask out of upholstery foam and fleece. The pattern for this mask can be found on my website for free. You can see the link in my bio. Just check the downloads page. I printed it on paper and then transferred it to 2 cm or 1 inch upholstery foam. Everything was cut out according to the pattern. I tried to cut out the beveled edges as much as possible in the start because it makes it much easier to assemble and create the beveled edges afterwards. The pieces are glued together with contact cement. This stuff is really strong and glues together foam very well. I started with the base of the head and then moved on to the snout. These are assembled differently because it's much easier to structure it this way. Now I assemble both horns separately. The grooves are cut into the horns for Spyro as well. Then the fin was added, which was rounded out with scissors. Everything was glued together with the contact cement. This created the base. To create the fleece skin, I used some foil to create a pattern. The foil was then taped over with masking tape so I could easily check out which seams I wanted and then flatten out the masking tape to create a pattern. Then I used the pattern and pre-made pieces from the original pattern to cut out the fleece skin. No need to create double patterns for this. The eyebrows were rounded off and then also glued some fleece skin on it. I pre-sew the fleece for big pieces such as the fin and the horns on my sewing machine so it's easier to assemble. Then it was turned inside out and then the foam was squeezed into it. To achieve less seams, some things I hand sew. This way you can really hide the seams in the fleece because it's such thick fabric. This hand sewing technique is also called a slip stitch, a Henson stitch or a puppet stitch. It takes a long time, but the results are very nice because the seams are nearly invisible in the fleece. To use the grooves that I carved into the foam horns, I stitched an extra piece of thread through the horns and tightened it to make sure that the fleece stays in the grooves. Then all the fleece skin was sewn together again with the Henson stitch. I glue the fleece skin to the head in places where it is necessary, but I try not to use too much glue. If I make a mistake or if I want to go back and change things, it is easier to not use too much glue. The zipper was installed in the back with a slip stitch or Henson stitch as well. This way I can make it nice and easy to put on. The neck was added to the bottom with the slip stitch again. Then I sewed in an extra lining. It's not necessary, but I think it looks nice. Then I created teeth. I kind of sketch out an idea for the teeth and then cut out 2 pieces and sew them together. Turn them inside out and use stuffing or pieces of leftover trimmed fleece to stuff them up. Then I stitched the teeth into the mask. I created a lining out of lycra fabric for a nice and cool and luxurious feel. Again, the lining is not necessary, but it makes it look very nice. That's the fleece done. I added some shading and color using an airbrush. You can choose not to do this or use a regular paintbrush. The eyes were then 3D printed in white filament. You can find this 3D model online, or you can use white foam or white pieces of plastic to make the eyes. Then the iris was printed on photo paper. And I cut it out neatly so I can create a pupil that is see-through for me to see out of the mask. The iris, the pupil and the mesh are glued to the frame. The frame has an edge that can be popped into the mask, so I can remove it if I want to clean anything. The eyebrows are popped up with magnets. There are several magnets inside the mask, so I can adjust the eyebrows as necessary for creative expressions. You can make your own mask with the free pattern on my website.